Welcome, writers, to another writer's workshop. Today's workshop is going to be focusing on the planning stage of the writing process. And today's strategy is a really good one because we're going to go back over some of the work that we've done already in our writer's notebooks. And it's called mining for ideas. So sometimes when we're jotting down in our writer's notebook, we're just writing freely and we're not really paying close attention to some of the things that we write. So what we're going to do is go back and see if there's anything that we missed, anything that we could possibly use for an idea for a story. So when we do mine our notebook for ideas, we read back through our notebook, we look at all of the entries, we read carefully, and we think about each word or each phrase or sentence and think about maybe is there an idea hiding in there? And we think about the different texts that we could write. Let's have a look at an example of an entry that I went through and mined and got some ideas for. So this was an entry that I wrote based on some important people and things in my life. And I was able to find an idea in my very first sentence. So my very first sentence, I thought that maybe I could write a memoir about my primary school life because I've got great memories of the teachers that I had in primary school. So I thought maybe I could write a memoir or a biography about all of my teachers, the good and the bad. I've actually already come up with a potential title for that text. Over here again, I didn't have to read too much further before coming up with another idea. I thought that maybe I could base a story or a narrative on my favourite teacher, Mr. Sutton. So I could create a character based on him and have a story around that character. Also down here, there was the detail that Mr. Sutton used to read us amazing books. So I thought, hey, maybe I could write a persuasive text about some of those stories or books to try and convince others to read them also. Here is another example of where I was mining another entry in my writer's notebook. This time it was an entry based on an item that I have observed closely. It was my houseplant. And I thought about this detail here about the leaves looked like they had skeletons and it was their veins. I thought maybe I could write an information text that talks about the parts of a plant or even the leaves of a plant. Down here, I thought this might be a cool idea about a plant, a mysterious plant that talks to people. Maybe a bit of a horror story, so that could be a good narrative. Down here, another narrative I thought could be a good idea about a little family of creatures that lived in a houseplant and maybe made friends with a little boy. I also thought about this whole entry as a whole, and it made me think maybe I could write a persuasive text on why people should have houseplants in their home. So as you can see in these last two entries, I've gone through, I've actually annotated, I've actually highlighted the parts that stick out to me, and I've then wrote some of those ideas for those texts, either around it. If you have room, you can write it around it, like in this one. So I've written my ideas directly next to where I found them, or you might like to list them underneath here. This next entry is slightly different because I thought this entry was actually on its way to being a good story. I just needed to develop the ideas further. So I thought that I might need to introduce the character instead of just using the word I. I might need to explain what I meant by the greatest treasures, and I might need to talk about who the wild beasts were as characters in that story. So that is another way that you can mine or develop ideas further. So today we're going through our notebook and we're mining it for all of the great ideas, all of the gold that is hiding within our entries in our notebook. Remember, we're reading slowly and carefully, looking at each word and thinking about what great ideas are hiding in there.